beings have always been fond of possessing gold. This lure has led to many weird adventures. And the strangest of all the expeditions had been the search for golden land, Eldorado. For centuries the legend of Eldorado, the fabulous land of gold, led many to undertake the courageous feat. Some lost their fortune, some their reputation, and some their lives. Still, men remained undaunted. Year after year, decades after decades, men went out in search of the golden land. After all, what were they seeking? A golden city? A golden man? Or everything was a story that destroyed many adventured? The year was 1969. Some farm workers were working in a cave near Bogota in South America. Suddenly their hands struck against a model of a raft. As soon as they saw it clearly, they shrieked with surprise, "Eldorado!" It meant the golden man. The model displayed a king on a raft standing with his bodyguards. This solid gold model raft is similar to the one taken from Lake Sicha in the 19th century by the adventurers of Spain and Britain who were on their mission to discover the golden land. However, they couldn't find the golden land, and soon people forgot all about it. But in 1969, the discovery of Golden Man once again forced the people to search for the land, the golden land whose existence till now was in doubt. The mania for gold started in 1530 with the Spanish adventurer Francisco Pizarro, who set sail from Panama to procure the treasures of the Inca Empire in Peru. In 1535, Sebastian de Belalcázar, veteran of the Inca conquest and founder of Quito, the capital of Ecuador, met an Indian who told him of a king of a tribe who sprinkled his body with gold dust before swimming in a sacred mountain lake. After hearing this story, Belalcázar coined a new name for this mysterious king, Eldorado, meaning the golden man. It was this name which became known among the adventurers. The word Eldorado signified different things to different adventurers. To some, it meant the golden man, but to some, it signified the golden land. Anyhow, Eldorado became a hypnotic legend and allured many adventurers to lose their fortune, reputation, life itself in its vein. The first man to think of Eldorado was Gonzalo Jiménez de Quesada. He started on his journey in 1536 with 900 men from Santa Marta, situated on Colombia's northern coast. Quesada's journey was full of peril. He and his men had to face various animals, fight diseases like fever, malaria, and the attacks of hostile natives before they reached Chibijas. At Chibijas, Spanpercentaros were told of some more tales about the golden man. Going by the tales, Quesada proceeded to Guatavita Lake with Indian guide. They reached the lake, which was a deep, dark expanse of water set in the crater of an extinct volcano almost 9,000 feet above sea level. Few huts were there, but nowhere could Quesada and left over 200 men see the golden man or the golden land. Quesada returned, but only to sit quiet for some time. In 1568 the old Quesada haunted by the lake and the possible treasures hidden beneath it, and he restarted his journey. He left Bogota, the new city he discovered, with a force of 2,800 men. They hunted in vain for 3 years before Quesada gave up the search. Even after 4 decades of expeditions, men had failed to find any gold, leave aside discovering a golden man or a golden land. In return, expeditions had cost huge amounts. Nevertheless, the lure of discovering huge mass of gold made the men to pursue their search. But by the end of the 16th century, the interest shifted from Colombia to Guyana. In 1584, Antonio de Berrio, governor of a vast chunk of land between the Amazon and Orinoco River, set off from Tunja in central Colombia to explore the hinterland of Guyana. He was convinced that the golden man was to be found at a lake surrounded by mountains. His first expedition was unsuccessful, and so was his second expedition, which lasted from 1585 to 1588. In 1591, Berrio launched a third expedition and traveled down the Orinoco. He sailed to the island of Trinidad and established base for future expedition to Eldorado. In Trinidad, he met Walter Raleigh, who was searching for a new source of wealth for the Queen. Elizabeth I. Berrio passed on the information to Raleigh, who published his journal The Discovery of the Empire of Guiana. In his journal, he described extensively about the Golden City, although with little truth in it. Queen Elizabeth died in 1603. Raleigh was also convicted of charges for treason and sentenced to death. The sentence was, however, suspended for some time. Raleigh led a second expedition, but that too was unsuccessful, and when he returned he was beheaded in 1618. His death did not deter other men from searching for the Golden Man. Right up to the end of the 18th century, search for the Parima Lake continued. This was the lake which Raleigh showed in his journal, Discovery of the Empire of Guiana, that on its shores stood the imperial city of Manoa, the city of gold. The explorers searched for the Lake Parima. And like earlier quests, the explorers failed in their effort. The last Spanish expedition in search of Eldorado was led by Diaz de la Fuente. He set off into the Caroni River region of southeast Venezuela. At this point he divided his expedition into 3 columns. The expedition was put under the command of Gonzalo Suarez Rondon. It was assumed they nearly reached Lake Parima. But a sudden attack by Indians forced the Spaniards to turn back. The Spaniards finally had to give up the search and leave Guiana. The English, Dutch and French divided the colony among themselves. People began to wonder whether Eldorado really existed. But myths die hard. And in the beginning of the 19th century, the quest for Eldorado passed to a new breed of adventurers. The 2 new adventurers were Humboldt, with scientific interest, and Bonpland, a botanist. They traveled extensively and finally concluded that the search for Eldorado was futile and that there was no such lake as Parima. However, Humboldt noted the spot where Sepulveda's expedition had made a breach in the crater wall in the 1580s. So once again interest was drawn on Lake Guatavita. Humboldt had no interest in the treasure of the lakes, but others had. In 1912, a British company, Contractors Limited, arrived in Colombia with $150,000 worth of equipment to pump out the Lake Guatavita's water. The company partially succeeded in pumping out the water. The ground was covered with thick black mud and little bit of gold, which was not even enough to repay a fraction of the cost spent. More valuable than this search was the raft gold model found at Lake Sicha earlier in the 19th century. Thus, ended the search for Eldorado, the Golden Man, the Golden Land. The expeditions failed to discover the Golden Man or the Golden Land, but in their pursuit they discovered unknown tribes' metals like platinum, silver, bauxite, and manganese. And above all, they discovered oil in the Lake Maracaibo basin of Venezuela. The Golden Man on the raft still stares into the eyes of the adventurers, as if questioning, "Are you ready to unfold my mystery, the mystery of Eldorado?"